campaigners last night renewed demands for an end to the scandal of funding for children's hospices, as some warn they are preparing to pull the plug on crucial services. In the starkest warning yet, the people looking after seriously ill babies and youngsters said end-of-life care, respite and symptom management assistance will all be slashed to the bone if the £25 million Children's Hospice grant comes to an end. Fears over funding have been growing since April when it was announced the current financial year would be the grant's last, a scandal highlighted by the Daily Express last night. It was understood NHS England had confirmed it will support the children's hospice sector for another year at an equivalent level to 2023-24, but no official announcement had been made. A spokesman said the NHS is committed to a 5-year funding programme and added, discussion is ongoing with the government and hospice sector to finalise arrangements beyond 2024-25. It was a glimmer of hope for the 9,000 UK youngsters living with life-limiting or threatening conditions. But charity Together for Short Lives, which is leading calls to save the grant, said it must rise in line with inflation. Its chief executive, Andy Fletcher, who writes in the Daily Express today, said any reduction in the grant will have a devastating impact on lifeline services. A new report reveals without the grant, 2 in 5 children's hospices will cut end-of-life care, and 4 in 5 will slash the respite or short breaks they provide. Other services, such as art therapy, are funded by charitable incomes. But many hospices have already cut them in the face of rising costs. Mr. Fletcher said, I call on the government to commit to NHS England protecting and centrally distributing the grant. That call is backed by London-based US comedian and actor Rob Delaney, whose son Henry received care from Noah's Ark Children's Hospice before he died of a brain tumor in 2018, aged 2.5. The catastrophe star said, there will always be children who live short lives. But, by supporting our children's hospices through sustainable funding, we can make sure dying children and their families get the same joy that we and Henry got. Support meant we could be together until the very end. The care and attention Arjun Sangara received from hospice staff ensured his family made the most of the little time they had with him. Arjun suffered a massive brain hemorrhage which meant he could never be left alone and required around-the-clock care. As he aged, his needs increased. He stayed at home and died in 2020 at 17. His family said the devotion of those working for Martin House, a charity offering hospice care for youngsters in much of Yorkshire, made the pain and suffering bearable. Mamman Raj, Inset, of Harrogate, said, throughout Arjun's life, and at the end of his life, the support from the hospice meant that we could be a family until the very end. They were always there, at 3 p.m. or 3 a.m., when I was up in the night worried about medications or a seizure. Their support meant everything to us. It's a place that we went for respite, for us to just be parents, not carers, nurses, doctors, but actually to be a family together, and that is what the hospice provided for us. When we look back, we can see that without Martin House we couldn't have coped. There were occasions when I would ring them many times in a day, especially in the last 2 weeks of my son's life when I required support at home. Comment by Andy Fletcher, Chief Executive at Together for Short Lives. Thousands of seriously ill babies, children and young people are in serious danger of missing out on vital palliative care amid growing uncertainty about the future of the crucial Children's Hospice grant. The NHS funding, which was introduced in 2006, currently provides £25 million to help children's hospices in England care for their young patients. But in April NHS England wrote to the hospices and told them this would be the last year that the grant will be available. The letter said, 2023-24 marks the final year of the current NHS England grant agreement. And it added, we encourage hospices to work closely with their local integrated care boards, ICBs, on longer-term commissioning arrangements. This has caused serious concern across the whole of the children's hospice sector. There is already a £300 million funding gap, which means vital services are facing cuts and a postcode lottery of care across the UK. It is also clear that ICBs, which only replaced care commissioning groups in 2022, are not yet ready to take on full responsibility for the funding of children's hospices. This is why Together for Short Lives, the UK's leading charity for children's palliative care, has been campaigning to save the Children's Hospice Grant. These hospices help thousands of families make the most of every moment they have left with their loved ones, whether that is years, months or sometimes just a matter of hours. Without the grant, crucial services, such as symptom control, short breaks and end-of-life care, could be at risk. And this will leave families who are already struggling even more isolated and exhausted.